The alarms blared across New Terra Station, casting a red glow over the panicked faces of civilians rushing for cover. In the midst of the chaos, Lieutenant Kai Sato stood eerily calm, his eyes reflecting a haunted knowledge far beyond his years. Above, the sky was torn apart by the descent of alien warships, their hulls glinting menacingly under the assault of Earth's feeble defense cannons. Commander Zira's voice boomed from every speaker, dripping with contempt. "You are relics, clinging to weakness. Surrender or be purged." Kai tightened his grip on his weapon, a grim resolve settling over his features. "Not on my watch," he muttered to no one in particular, stepping forward as his body began to shimmer with a barely visible bioengineered aura, ready to reveal Earth's secret defenders. The morning sun cast gentle rays across the verdant park at the center of New Terra City, where the day's tranquility belied the undercurrents of a world on the brink. People milled about, enjoying the fleeting peace, their laughter a temporary balm to the hidden wounds of a society wrestling with its ethical boundaries. In the heart of the park stood Lieutenant Kai Sato, his posture rigidly out of place among the casual strollers. His eyes, a sharp contrast to his youthful face, scanned the crowd with a soldier's vigilance. Beneath his calm exterior, the engineered sinews of his body tensed, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. Kai's friend, Corporal Lena Park, nudged him lightly, her voice low and teasing. "You could try to relax, Kai. It's a rally for peace, not a battlefield." Kai managed a small smile, his gaze never wavering. "When have you ever seen me relax?" he replied, half joking. "Peace is hard-earned, Lena. It's our job to protect it." As they spoke, the crowd's mood shifted palpably. The screens scattered around the park flickered to life, displaying the stern face of Earth's Prime Minister. Her announcement was terse, a cold splash of reality. "Citizens of Earth, we face an imminent threat. Commander Zira of the Stellar Union has broken the truce. Her forces have entered our space and are advancing towards our planet." A murmur rippled through the crowd, fear and disbelief mingling in the air. Kai's body stiffened further, a conditioned response to the looming crisis. Lena grabbed his arm, her earlier levity gone. "Looks like the peace rally is over," she said grimly. Kai nodded, his mind racing through protocols. "We need to move. Now." The rally dissolved into chaos as people scrambled, the Prime Minister's words igniting the primal urge to flee danger. Kai and Lena, however, headed towards the military pavilion, which had been set inconspicuously at one corner of the park. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with urgency. Officers barked orders, while screens showed live feeds of alien ships, sleek and menacing, cutting through space with lethal precision. "Report," Kai barked as he approached the command table, slipping effortlessly into his role. Major Anders, his superior, looked up, his face lined with tension. "The Stellar Union's fleet outnumber us. Our conventional forces won't hold them back for long. It's only a matter of time before we have to deploy the engineered." Kai felt a cold knot in his stomach. The engineered soldiers like him, altered at the genetic level to be the ultimate warriors. Revered by some, feared by many, they were Earth's last line of defense. He met Major Anders' gaze, his own eyes resolute. "Prepare the units. We won't let them reach the surface," he declared, the weight of command settling on his shoulders. As Kai and Lena left the tent to join their unit, the park behind them was eerily silent, the joy of the morning sun replaced by the shadow of war. Kai glanced back once, a silent promise to the place and the people he was sworn to protect. "Whatever it takes," he whispered, not just to Lena, but to himself, a mantra to steel his soul for the battle ahead. The city's sirens wailed through the now deserted streets of New Terra City, a haunting reminder that peace was merely an interlude. High above, the stark gray of warships sliced through the cloudless sky, their shadows casting long, dark swathes over the architecture below, a stark contrast to the idyllic morning. In the hastily fortified command center, Lieutenant Kai Sato and his unit were outfitted in their distinctive gear, the faint blue veins of bio-enhanced circuitry glowing under their skin. Each soldier bore the mark of Earth's desperate innovation, a living weapon forged from science and necessity. Positions, Kai ordered, his voice steady, masking the turmoil inside him. He led his team to the strategic defense points, their movements swift and silent, more spectral than human. As they settled into cover, the first of the enemy pods broke through the atmosphere, igniting as they hit the heavier air. The pods landed with mechanical precision, disgorging soldiers of the Stellar Union, beings genetically engineered for war, just like Kai, but without the restraint Earth had imposed on its creations. Kai peered through his scope, his enhanced eyes locking onto an advancing figure. "Hold fire," he whispered into the calm, his finger poised over the trigger. "Wait for my mark." The enemy, emboldened by their numerical superiority, advanced in tight formations. They communicated in clicks and terse shouts, a language of war that needed no translation. Lena, crouched beside Kai, muttered under her breath, "Arrogant bastards." The tension spiked as the two forces edged closer, the invaders unaware of the deadly reception waiting in silence. Kai's heart thudded against his ribs, each beat a reminder of what was at stake. His home, his people, his very humanity. "Now," Kai hissed, the word barely a breath. The night erupted into violence. The engineered soldiers leaped from cover, their bodies blurring with speed that no natural creature could match. Bullets and energy beams crisscrossed the battlefield, a deadly dance of advanced warfare technology. Kai moved among the enemy, a ghost in the chaos, his training taking over. Each move was precise, each attack lethal. Around him, his unit dismantled the Stellar Union's front line, their engineered abilities turning the tide within minutes. But victory was not without cost. As the smoke cleared, several of Kai's team lay injured, their bodies struggling to regenerate despite their enhancements. Kai knelt beside a fallen comrade, his hands automatically pressing against a wound to stem the flow of blood. "Hang in there," he urged, looking into the pain-clouded eyes of his friend. The soldier nodded, a grimace of pain etching his features. Lena approached, her expression tight. "We pushed them back, but they'll regroup. This was just the first wave." Kai stood, his gaze sweeping over the battlefield. The enemy had underestimated them, but they wouldn't make the same mistake twice. He clicked his comm, ready to report back to command. "Major Anders, this is Sato. We've held the line, but expect heavier resistance. We need reinforcements." The reply was crackled but clear. "Understood, Lieutenant. Hold position. Support is on the way." As he signed off, Kai looked up at the darkening sky, the setting sun a fiery witness to the day's bloodshed. This was just the beginning, he knew. The real war lay ahead. Under the cloak of nightfall, New Terra City transformed into a fortress under siege, bathed in the harsh light of emergency beacons. In the command center, Lieutenant Kai Sato reviewed the latest deployment plans, his face a mask of concentration amid the chaos of war. His unit, fresh from their first clash, prepared for the inevitable onslaught that would come at dawn. "Lieutenant, the enemy's regrouping faster than we anticipated," Sergeant Lena Park reported, her voice edged with fatigue. She handed Kai a tablet displaying satellite images of the Stellar Union forces amassing just beyond the city's outskirts. "They're not just probing defenses anymore. This looks like preparation for a major push." Kai's eyes narrowed as he studied the images. The enemy had adapted to their tactics quicker than expected. "Time to escalate our response. Prepare the second squadron of engineered. We'll meet strength with superior strength." In the shadowy confines of the barracks, the second squadron of engineered soldiers awaited orders. Their expressions were stoic, the result of both genetic conditioning and the harsh reality of their existence as tools of war. Kai entered, his presence commanding attention. "Listen up," Kai began, his voice firm. "The enemy thinks they've seen the best we have. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show them that Earth is not just defending its soil, we're defending our right to exist as we choose. Are we clear?" "Sir, yes, sir." The soldiers responded in unison, their voices resonating in the cold air. As dawn broke, the enemy launched their attack, a coordinated assault that lit up the horizon with blinding explosions. Kai and his squadron were at the forefront, their bodies engineered to withstand and adapt to the relentless barrage. Each soldier was a blur of motion, a symphony of engineered precision and lethal force. The battlefield became a testing ground for human ingenuity against alien technology. Kai led a charge against a heavily fortified position, his soldiers flanking him. They moved through the enemy lines like wraiths, unseen until it was too late. "Push forward," Kai ordered as they breached the enemy's defenses. The clash was brutal, hand-to-hand combat ensuing under the smoke-filled sky. Kai found himself face to face with a Stellar Union commander, the alien's features contorted in surprise and rage. "You are abominations," the commander hissed, his voice a guttural growl as they grappled. Kai's reply was a grim smile as he overpowered the alien, his enhanced muscles and reflexes tipping the balance. "We are Earth's will made manifest. Your prejudice is your downfall." As the skirmish drew to a close, the tide turned decidedly in Earth's favor. The enemy was pushed back, their numbers dwindling under the relentless assault of Kai and his squad. But the victory was bittersweet, the ground littered with casualties from both sides. In the aftermath, Kai surveyed the scene, his heart heavy. Each victory cost pieces of their humanity, the enhancements saving their lives but isolating them further from those they protected. "Lieutenant Sato," Lena's voice came over the comm, her tone urgent. "Come in. You need to see this." Kai joined Lena at a makeshift command post, where she showed him live drone footage of the enemy regrouping again, this time with even larger reinforcements. "They're not done yet. They're bringing in something big." Kai watched the screen, his resolve hardening. "Then we'll be ready. We must be. This is more than just a battle for territory. It's a battle for who we are as soldiers, as humans. Set up defenses. We hold the line, no matter what comes next." As dawn streaked the sky with ominous hues of orange and red, New Terra City braced for another assault. The brief respite had allowed Lieutenant Kai Sato and his engineered squadron a moment to regroup, but the weight of the coming battle pressed heavily on them all. In the command tent, Kai studied the new enemy formations displayed on the tactical screen. Each marker represented a surge of forces more significant than the last. Beside him, Sergeant Lena Park pointed to a cluster of signals advancing from the east. "They're bringing in heavy artillery now. Looks like some kind of enhanced siege units." Kai's eyes narrowed. The enemy was escalating, perhaps in response to the effectiveness of his engineered troops. "Prep the anti-armor squads. We'll need to neutralize those units before they reach firing range." Outside, the soldiers made ready, their faces set in grim determination. Kai moved among them, his presence reassuring yet somber. He stopped beside a young soldier whose hands trembled slightly as he loaded his weapon. "Steady," Kai said, placing a firm hand on the soldier's shoulder. "Remember, we fight for Earth's future. For our right to exist on our terms. Make every shot count." The soldier nodded, bolstered by Kai's confidence, and resumed his task with renewed focus. As the sun rose fully, the ground trembled under the barrage of the Stellar Union's advanced weaponry. The air filled with the roar of cannons and the sharp whine of energy beams slicing through the morning air. Kai's unit responded with precision, their enhanced reflexes and strength allowing them to maneuver quickly, dodging incoming fire while delivering devastating counterattacks. Kai found himself at the forefront, where the fighting was thickest. An enemy shell exploded nearby, sending a shockwave that knocked him off his feet. As he regained his footing, he saw a gap in their lines and opportunity. "This way!" he shouted, leading a charge that cut through the enemy's advance guard and disrupted their formation. The engineered soldiers followed, their efficiency terrifying in its silence. But the victory was costly. As the dust settled, Kai knelt beside a fallen comrade, her injuries too severe for even their advanced healing capabilities to mend quickly. Her breathing was labored, her eyes flickering with pain. Hold on, Kai urged, his voice rough with emotion. Medic! We need a medic here! As the medic attended to her, Kai looked away, his face etched with sorrow and rage. Every soldier saved felt like a victory, but each loss carved a hollow space in his heart. Kai, Lena approached, her face solemn. We've pushed them back, but intel suggests they're regrouping for another push. And there's something else. Kai met her gaze, steeling himself. What is it? They've captured some of our people. They're using them as shields for their next advance. A cold fury settled over Kai. This was a new level of cruelty, one that challenged the very essence of their humanity. Assemble a strike team. We're going to get our people back. As they prepared for the rescue, Kai's mind raced. This war was not just a battle for territory but a fight for the soul of Earth itself. They were the defenders, the shield against tyranny. But at what cost? How many more lines would they have to cross before the war ended? The dust had barely settled on the battlefield as Lieutenant Kai Sato and his strike team prepared for what could be their most harrowing mission yet. Under the cloak of twilight, they moved silently through the war-torn landscape, each step taking them closer to where the enemy held their comrades as human shields. Kai's mind was a whirl of strategy and concern, not just for the lives of his team and the hostages, but also for the moral implications of their actions. Were they still the defenders of Earth, or had they become something less noble in their desperation? As they approached the enemy encampment, the low hum of conversation and the occasional clank of armor pierced the silence. Kai signaled for his team to hold position while he scouted ahead. Using his enhanced vision, he counted the enemy guards and noted the positions of the hostages, civilians and soldiers alike, bound and frightened. Returning to his team, Kai whispered, "There are 10 guards, 2 on rotation. Hostages are in the center, heavily guarded. We strike fast, disable, not kill. Our aim is to rescue, not to add to the body count." The team nodded, understanding the delicacy of the operation. With precision born of countless similar engagements, they moved forward, taking out the guards with non-lethal force and swiftly closing in on the hostage area. As they breached the perimeter, a shout went up from one of the enemy soldiers, quickly stifled by Lena's quick action. The hostages, seeing their rescuers, surged with hope, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and relief. Kai cut through the bindings of a young soldier, who whispered hoarsely, "They said you wouldn't come for us. That you'd abandoned us." "Never," Kai replied firmly, helping the man to his feet. "We leave no one behind." As they escorted the hostages back to their lines, the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon, casting long shadows and painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson. But the beauty of the dawn was lost on Kai, whose thoughts were dark with the cost of the night's endeavor. Back at the command center, after ensuring the safety of the hostages and debriefing his superiors, Kai found a quiet corner to reflect. The war was over, for now, their enemies driven back by the fierce defense put up by Earth's engineered soldiers. Yet, victory tasted bitter. Kai thought of the friends he'd lost, the compromises he'd made. He wondered about the peace they'd fought so hard to achieve, whether it was merely the calm between storms. "Kai." Lena approached him, her expression somber. "You did well. We did well." Kai looked up, managing a weary smile. "Did we? At what cost, Lena? Are we still the good guys if we have to become monsters to defeat monsters?" Lena sat beside him, sharing in the burden of those unanswerable questions. "We fight with the tools we're given, Kai. Maybe there's no clear right or wrong here, just the choices we make and what we're willing to live with."